So today in Plant Coaster we move away from the town and start on the next area of the park. And what better way to start with the next area of the park than also start building the first coaster of Vaddjian. So let's get straight into that, shall we? So this area is going to be themed around Melandru, the goddess of nature, earth and growth in Guild Wars. And even though Vaddjian and nature might not be the perfect match at first sight, because Vaddjian is a cold, snowy wasteland as I've said in earlier videos, nature is a broad concept that goes beyond just plants and animals. And this part of the park or this area will tap into a different aspect of nature. And I have researched all the little bits of info on Melandru and the stories in Guild Wars about her. And they also go into different aspects of nature, such as the cycle of life. That for things to live, things have to die. For, the hunter to exist, the prey needs to exist, but the prey can't exist without the hunter, and the hunter can't exist without the prey, and such stories. Which goes into one story that I found about Melandru that I really like, even though it's really dark, which might say a little bit about me. That I might be a bit evil, but let's not talk about that. But this story, well, I'm not going to keep you guys in the dark, I'm just going to tell you guys the story. The story is about fox with babies, and then this fox gets killed because the fox killed, I think, a chicken. So she's killed by the farmer because she killed a chicken. And then Melandru finds these foxes or these babies and realizes that they are going to die because they have lost their mother, so they can't get food, they are defenseless. And you might think like, oh, she will help the foxes survive. She does none of that. She basically just says, as she is basically the embodiment of nature, that this is the way nature was intended. So she basically lets these baby foxes starve or just plainly die because you don't mess with nature. But then later on in the story, she comes across the farmer who's crying and asking her for help because his daughter has been taken by wolves. And she just says the same thing to the farmer as he basically said to these baby foxes, that no, she won't help because it's the way of nature. So basically she lets baby foxes die and she lets a child die because it's the way of nature. Nature can be quite harsh and cruel, and nature is basically survival of the fittest. And I wanted to implement that harsher side of nature into this area of the park, because even though nature is beautiful, it's harsh. It is survival of the fittest. Especially in a region like Vaddjian, where it's cold, snowy and barren, and there's not a lot in the way of food or just anything. So I wanted to tap more into that aspect, because I have also already said in earlier videos that Vaddjian, as it's a cold and barren wasteland, doesn't have a lot in the way of trees or just plant life. So I didn't want to go against my older videos. Even though I do have a tendency to do that, I do have a tendency to go a full 180 on what I said in earlier videos. But for this area, I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to give myself a challenge of representing nature without a lot of plants and animals. Well, even if I was going against that challenge, I wouldn't be able to use a lot of animals because Guild Wars has a lot of strange animals that I won't be able to implement in Plant Coaster. Well, I could, but I would have to make them out of basic shapes, and I hate basic shapes because they are too shiny. I like my gold and everything to be shiny, but basic shapes are just, they are a bit too plasticky looking for me. But anyways, the thought of the coaster, because I think I've talked a lot about the area, but I need to talk about the coaster a bit, is that the coaster is basically you flying along the wings of, I think it's a hawk or a raven, just a bird. I wanted this coaster because I wanted a coaster that even on its own is a bit tied to nature, or at least you know, has a bit of a nature aspect, because again, I can't use a lot of plants, and other coasters would probably need a lot more plants to really represent nature. So this coaster was it, or I would have to choose a kiddie coaster, which goes against this like harsh nature that I wanted to show. So because of that, I chose this coaster, and the one thing that I really wanted to do with the coaster was these, well, not really dive things, or you know, it's not really a dive coaster, but I wanted to give you the feeling that you were diving towards the ground, like picking up a prey like a hawk does. I really like that about those birds, that they just swoop in, take the prey and fly off. Even though it's a bit dark, because I have seen the videos where a hawk or so scoops up a little rabbit and you hear the rabbit squeal and all that. I have never cried about such a video. I always found it sad, but I always thought like, yeah, that happens in nature. In nature there is a food chain, and sadly rabbits are below hawks. Actually, I don't cry a lot about things in nature. Also things in nature in movies. Am I really evil? Because I actually haven't cried about anything in The Lion King. In The Lion King, there's the scene with Mufasa where I always hear people like that they were bawling their eyes out when Mufasa died, and I think I was 5 years old at that time, I really was just dry-eyed and didn't cry at all. Because back then it wasn't about nature, it was more about, this is an animation, I know this isn't real. My 5-year-old me thought that, and just didn't cry because I knew like, yeah, this isn't real, this is drawn. Am I really a monster? Because as a 5-year-old I was already thinking like that. It's weird. I'm really not thinking that I'm a monster, because I don't cry about videos where a baby rabbit gets swooped up by a hawk and you hear it squeal, and I don't cry about actually a lot of movies. From when I was a child, I have never cried about those movies, because I always realized, yeah, this is fake. This is set up, this is either CGI or it's drawn or it's something else. There's almost never anyone really harmed in a movie, so yeah. I just thought of that. I should probably get back to the coaster, but I'm just like rambling about weird stuff. I think you guys know this already about me. But yeah, back onto the coaster. As I said, I really like the idea of these birds swooping down, and I really want to make you guys feel, if you ride the coaster, that you are really flying above this cold, barren wasteland. And I tried to make a frozen lake. As I've said in earlier videos, water is kind of an issue in Vaddjian because most of it is frozen. And I wanted to make sure that, yeah, there's water, but it's frozen solid. And I tried to make it look like it's frozen by using a lot of these gemstones, which looks kind of weird when the sun is on it, because then it looks like a chessboard. And then, yeah, but it just has this nice shine, and it doesn't have that like water effect. It really looks frozen, and then there's still water underneath it, just to give that, you know, the color of water that's still underneath it. But beyond that, I really wanted to make it look like it's frozen. It's frozen solid and has been for years. Just also to quickly make sure that you guys know that this frozen lake is not a source of water for the town. But then again, I have spent so many videos talking about the real water source of Vaddjian that I should probably not get into that. I also tried working with glass, but the gems just worked a little bit better, and at first I really hated the effect of the chessboard that they have when the sun is on it, but now I kinda like it. It's kinda strange, but in a way endearing, or in a way just it has grown on me. I also tried to make it look a bit more like ice by literally just throwing things into it and then making it look like it fell into the water, and then before it like really sunk to the ground in water, it already froze. I did this with a rock, like a rock that fell off the mountain into the water, and then before it reached the ground in the lake, it already froze solid, just to show that first of all it's ice, then second of all how cold it really is in Vaddjian, that even a giant rock was somehow beaten by how cold it is in Vaddjian. And this really, it's fun to make things look a bit more dynamic and a bit more, I don't know, real, or well, not real, because of course in real life this rock would have fallen down to the ground before it froze up, but it's nice to build these little scenes. Even though in the POV you'll probably not even notice this rock, I just like it because I know it's there. Like, there are going to be probably a lot of little things in this coaster that you guys will not see in the POV, but I know that they are there, and because of that I love them. Like, I approach a coaster like I would approach a dark ride. I make a lot of little scenes, then later on I make the transition between those scenes. And even though you will not notice these scenes, I know that they are there and I love them for that. And yeah, I'm starting to repeat myself, so I should probably stop with that. Back to the coaster. As I said, I wanted to give you guys the feeling that you were really flying up above this wasteland. And I did try to, well, I have to clarify at first that I am not a good coaster builder. So if I ever achieve that effect of flying, it's a miracle. So I tried a lot of coasters in the past, building them, and they always were a little bit janky. So I have really learned how to spam the smooth button. Like, I am kind of on the fence if I'm breaking my mouse when I'm spamming the smooth button, but then I look at the result and it's kind of smooth in my eyes, probably not in your eyes, but in my eyes it's kind of smooth. And then yeah, I just really like how this coaster really has this bird on the train. It's, I think, one of the only coasters which has some kind of realistic animal on it. Like the kiddie coasters have animals, but then one of them is a dragon and one of them is a, I would say it's a mutated caterpillar, because it doesn't look normal. It looks way too happy. It looks like it's how can I say this? It looks like it's high. Like, think of the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland and think of it happy and high, and just almost think of a newborn version of that caterpillar. It's weird. It's funny though, so I might use it later on, but for this kind of coaster, it's not going to be the thing. Again, I specified at the beginning that because it's so, well, it's a kiddie coaster, it's not going to work for the kind of nature I wanted to show in this coaster. It's also fun that the bird looks, well, it doesn't look happy. It looks, as I said, like a real hawk, so it looks, well, dangerous. Anyway, as I've said before, the theme around the coaster is the harsh side of nature, the more vicious side of hunter, prey, survival of the strongest. But also there is the point that I'm going to implement of like hidden creases of really beautiful and tropical nature or plants, which I have said in earlier videos how I do that, but to give you a quick gist of that, it's going to go into the ley lines, which are a big part of Guild Wars. And yeah, you will see in the next video how I do that. But this video is coming to an end, so I hope you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!